everybody. Welcome to Idio Talk, a Radiohead podcast. I am one of your hosts, Walker Glenn.
And I'm Zach Glenn.
Good to see you, Zach.
Yeah, it's great to be here. I'm excited.
Should we reestablish that we are brothers who host a podcast about Radiohead?
Yes.
Might be some new listeners.
And that we love Radiohead. Those are our credentials. We went to the School of Hard Knocks for loving Radiohead.
Yeah, that's right. We got our Radiohead education on the streets.
What the School of Hard Knocks for loving Radiohead? That's such a weird mismatch.
Yeah, that is, I'm going to say decidedly not the School of Hard Knocks.
No.
That is the School of Soft Knocks.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, and I will say our title is slightly misleading because this is Idio Talk, a Radiohead podcast. But as a point of fact, we are actually the only Radiohead podcast. And not only the only Radiohead podcast, but I think maybe the only media coverage of Radiohead, period. So listeners, you'll find that if you Google the word Radiohead, and yes, I said the word, it is a compound word. There is not a space. There is a space in the Talking Head song that they took their name from, but it's one word, Radiohead. If you Google it, two things will come up. One is Radiohead.com, the band's website. And then the other is the website for Idio Talk, a Radiohead podcast. That's all you're going to find.
Yeah. And that's the URL, isn't it? Idio Talk, a Radiohead podcast. There's no www or .com.
There's no .com. It's just, you just type that into the Google search bar and Zach and I's face comes up staring at you. Which is a lot of pressure, I think, to be the only source of information about this band. But I also kind of welcome it. We really have a monopoly at this point on, if you want to know something about Radiohead, you got to come through us.
Right. Yeah.
Which is exciting. But that's who we are. And who are you, listeners? You are folks who decided to tune into this podcast, which we very much appreciate. Now, Zach and I have been covering Radiohead's discography, album by album. We've taken a lot of kind of side quests into solo project or Thom's solo projects, soundtrack work. Has that come out at this point? Yes, it has. And then just other things that we want to talk about, guests that we've wanted to interview about their kind of Radiohead expertise. We have the side podcast where we talk about the Batman films.
Yep.
Right. And today we're doing something a little different from all of that. This is our first kind of just Zach and I doing what we've been calling a grab bag episode. Where there's just some kind of odds and ends or odds and sods, as they might say across the pond.
A cornucopia, if you will.
Ooh, I like that very much.
Rolls right off the tongue. Radiohead cornucopia. Yeah,
a smorgasbord. Various meats and cheeses from the Radiohead farm. Yes. A Radiohead charcuterie board.
Yep.
And don't worry, there's vegetarian options as well. Surely someone in Radiohead is a vegetarian or a vegan.
I mean, I think the obvious go-to is Thom. But
yeah, for some reason I was thinking
actually.
Johnny.
I could totally see Johnny too. As covered briefly, we will be doing the Smile, or talking about our experiencing the Smile live at some point. Our respective partners were enthralled at the movement of Johnny Greenwood, and I was
and his hair, which probably didn't sting you as bad as it did me.
I mean, my hair it doesn't grow out like that. But yes, I could imagine maybe that was a little tougher. I mean, hair flip is incorporated. Movement incorporates hair flip. But I was just thinking about it, and I'm like, he's the youngest member of the band by quite a lot, and he's 50 years old. No, I'm sorry. He's 51.
I believe. Okay.
51. But just in fantastic shape. And obviously, it's up to folks individually, if they choose to eat meat or not. But I was thinking the same thing. That was a very long-winded way of saying the same thing. What his exercise regimen is, I wonder at this point.
Sure. I mean, there's the, healthy lifestyle aspect, which as you reach a level of success that Radiohead has also just becomes a easier thing to prioritize in your life, to adhere to a strict diet or fitness regimen. I was even thinking though more just because Radiohead is kind of a
totally
cause-oriented group of individuals and tends to be, I would say broadly of the left, and these things share an overlap often with animal rights activism.
Yeah,
but that's
Paul
not
McCartney,
necessarily right.
Very active animal rights activist. I really love that about him.
Yeah, but I am kind of, it is occurring to me that this is not a topic that I necessarily have heard Radiohead comment on, but I wonder if it is something that any of the members of the band are individually passionate about or practice.
I mean, I definitely love this dialogue, and but we probably will need to cut this because, as you said, we are the Radiohead experts, the only source of information. The band is rather closed off with. I know we're just wondering out loud, we're both sitting with computers in front of us, and I guess we'll never know.
But we can't know because, as I said, if you Google Radiohead, the only thing that comes up is this podcast and their website. So if it's not on their website and we don't know it, it cannot be known.
Yes, and even though we are the primary source, they have not given us their telephone numbers and ways to reach out and ask this personal question. So no one will ever know.
Not yet. Yeah. But I'm time's going to tell on that one.
Totally.
What the hell were we talking about?
Vegetarianism. Johnny Greenwood's in great shape.
I had some sort of point I wanted to make with all of this, but it is completely eluding me now. But this episode, that's what we were talking about. So in this one, we just thought we'd talk about some kind of like more random things that we have come across with Radiohead that individually are not maybe worth their own episode, but are worth talking about on Idiot Talk, a Radiohead podcast. So we've got some stuff to play for each other today. Zach has some stuff that I am not really aware of that he wants to share with me. I have some stuff that I haven't given him the details on. I want to share with him. And so we're really excited to do that with each other and do that with you, listeners. But in any case, Zach, how are you? What have you been up to? What's been going on with you?
I'm great. I think I'm extra great today, though, Walker, because you just covered off kind of the light agenda. This is a business meeting now.
I know. I like that they're listening to it. It's like, welcome to us planning the episode, listeners. But could have been an email.
We are recording on a Wednesday today. A podcast comes out on a Friday. Yeah. We're actually recording on Ash Wednesday, February 22nd, 2023, which is the 30-year anniversary of the release of Pablo Honey.
Zach, you don't have to tell me that. I'm the co-host of Idiot Talk, a Radiohead podcast. I know that Pablo Honey came out on February 22nd, 30 years ago, which by my count makes it 1993.
Yeah,
the time that this came out.
Not released in the U.S. until April 20th of that year. But
do you think that was because they knew that the U.S. citizens were going to want to spark a doobie when they were? You want to roll one up to anyone can play guitar. You know what I'm saying?
I certainly hope that was the reason and not in celebration of Hitler's birthday. But
also a vegetarian. So
famously, yeah. Not a pot smoker, though. He was more into cocaine and heroin.
Right. But yeah, I would say him being a vegetarian, definitely one of the most famous things about him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. But no, yeah, I mean, I don't have anything to add as far as what we're going to discuss, but I was really excited just to let the listeners know. Unfortunately, we're not going to release this. We're not going to deviate from releasing on a Friday, but I think that ties in nicely, though, with some of the stuff that we're going to kind of retrospectively look at.
Well, let me ask you this. Since it is the 30th anniversary of Pablo Honey, how are you celebrating? And let me also look up, how anniversaries have different, like there's the wood or the silver and all that.
Oh, yeah.
Let's look up what the 30th anniversary is. But how are you celebrating?
Well, I threw on the album, got through You and Anyone Can Play Guitar. and I didn't even really make it much further. So you
didn't listen did you skip over Creep?
No, I didn't skip over it. I didn't get there because I've been listening to a lot of Radiohead adjacent content, and just a lot of great music in general.
What have you been into lately?
I've discovered. Let me just, before I answer that, let me just disclose that, as I've disclosed previously, I sometimes struggle to engage with contemporary and or newly released music. And as I've said, I think that you're maybe a little bit better in that regard. And in the past, I've attributed this to streaming services making everything so widely available, changing and really directly influencing the way songs are written so that they pull listeners in. And just real quickly, what I mean by that is that Spotify only gives the artist credit in the form of royalty or whatnot as a stream if the first 14 seconds of the song are played. So what you're finding is that a lot of songs are chorus first and like the hook is first, a lot of information up front, right? So that is a fact too. Not every artist though, as I'm going to talk about, but I do think there's merit to that idea that streaming is maybe influencing my desire to participate in new music. But I also think that it's driven by me staying with what I know, right? As we do, as we get older, we like things that are same and that we know we like and that are relatively safe. Like also a feeling that there's so much classically celebrated music that I've yet to engage with, whether that's Bob Dylan, whether, whatever, but just there's so much music that I know is great that I know some of, but I haven't gone doing a deep dive. But all that being said, this podcast and this project has kind of ironically led me to have a greater desire to engage with newer and contemporary music for really the first time in years. Now, I don't want to make it sound like, and the reason I said ironically is because it's Radiohead focused. I have been listening and re-listening to their music in the most focused, thoughtful way ever, as much as they've been my favorite band for 14 and a half years. And so, yeah, I just think that's interesting. And to the question you asked 10 minutes ago of what I've been listening to, there's a Brooklyn-based band that I've been absolutely loving called The Next Great American Novelist. And listeners, check them out. They're sort of an experimental, like rock alternative band, led by singer Sean Cahill. And I do know that Sean's a listener to the podcast, which is not why I'm bringing them up, except to say that when he reached out like through, the podcast Instagram page just to say that he was enjoying the show. And I did not know this band. But I thought it was like really, really cool that somebody who's making music professionally as their career and like, they have a fairly substantial following out there but is taking the time to listen to our show. And the reason why that stood out to me is because even just having done this show, like I have my podcast, my mainstays, right? My Stuff You Should Know is my girly, whatever. But I definitely have not been seeking out new podcasts as much because listening to ours back, every day, 9 hours a day. No, I'm just kidding. But just like recording and stuff, like I have less time and less desire to want to have AirPods in or whatever,
Sure.
Just a little bit. And I can only imagine, since Sean seems to be pretty involved in like the production and multi-instrumentals, he's the leader of the band. They are a band. I just think it's cool, and it's also cool because he was like one of our earliest listeners.
Yeah.
And I just really, really appreciated that. And I also am like, it's so cool. And I checked out the band and they are really fun to listen to. It's not like, hey, all this great stuff, but they suck. They're an awesome, awesome band.
I think it's cool too, because I listened to them per your recommendation. Yeah. And this band rocks.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's incredibly flattering and just incredibly exciting too, to know that we're kind of engaging in a back and forth through this podcast.
Yeah.
With people who are doing such cool stuff.
Absolutely, man.
It's flattering.
Said it better.
It makes me.
Very flattering.
It's like in As Good as It Gets, when he's telling Helen Hunt that like people see her wait tables.
Let me be
they
her.
Have no idea.
Melvin, pay me a compliment right now.
Well, yes, there's that. The whole "you make me want to be a better man," but then he also says the thing where he's like, "I see people in that restaurant watch you bring their food and take their plates, and have no idea they just met the greatest woman alive.
Yeah,
and the fact that I get it makes me feel good about me." That's how I feel right now with our listeners and with Sean in particular.
Yeah, no,
was that a good enough riff for me to commandeer your your train of thought completely?
No, my train of thought was concluded. I think you put a button on it perfectly. Sean, we're grateful for you listening. And like I say, maybe we could put it up somewhere, but I really do encourage listeners to do the same. You know, it doesn't have to be the same artist or whatnot, but I know I'm not the only person that gets stuck in a rut. And I know I'm not the only person that's blamed that on streaming. And I do know that, like I said, there's merit to that, but it's sometimes you got to break yourself out of your comfort zone. And I talked about the project I'd done with Rick Rubin's discography that's still in process. And then just real quick, I've also been playing, and this has to do with Sean too, actually, because we were trading back and forth like influences and bands we like outside of Radiohead. And he asked me if I've ever heard of the Dirty Projectors, which I had, and it's a band I love. And I've been listening to that album of theirs. I want to say it's their 2009 album, like nonstop.
Biddy Orca?
What's that? Yes. Oh my God, dude. So good.
That album rules. And I haven't really kept up with them after that. I know they made one album after that I also really enjoyed.
Me too.
Have you ever heard their album? And this is an annoying thing about streaming. I think maybe it's not on the big streamers now. I'm looking it up to see if it's on Apple Music now, but it's the album called Rise Above.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And you know the concept of that album?
No, I'm not familiar.
It's and I forget the guy's name who's the found. Oh no, it is on here now. Cool. Dave Longstreth is his name. The album is him playing a Black Flag album from memory.
Oh my God.
But then it's like, obviously it sounds nothing like Black Flag. It's all original music and lyrics, but it's like a cover of his memory of this Black Flag album that he listened to as a kid.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Which I think so I really love that album and Biddy Orca. And I got to see them live once, open for TV on the radio. And that was my first exposure to them. It was right before that big album kind of blew up, and they walked out and I immediately like prejudged them. Like they kind of like just had this really like disheveled kind of like fuck it look. And I was like, oh, this is going to be really annoying. And then just immediate face melting. Like, oh my God, I've never heard anything like this. I feel like his guitar style kind of reminds me of like when the Talking Heads got all into kind of like African polyrhythms and stuff. Like, I wonder if they have similar references.
Well, I do know that the Talking Heads, David Byrne has praised them, and they cite them as
really?
Influence.
Okay,
absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's like, we are kind of, listeners, I'm sure, sussed out that there's, when you favor a band like Radiohead so much, you're going to kind of merge those things together. But it is interesting because the Talking Heads are not a band that I was very familiar with up until about 3-4 years ago. And hearing like the influence that they've had over a lot of indie or bigger than indie groups is really, really neat. And again, that's just kind of the cool thing about focusing on this topic of Radiohead, bringing it all back here, is it could have gone either way. But I don't have Radiohead fatigue. I'm not sick of them. They are still my favorite band. I love this project and I love where we're at with it. But I'm really, really grateful, obviously the connections we've made, learning about new music, and then just exploring, Bitches Brew or something like that, an influence on the band, the Talking Heads, and then a lot of other stuff too that I won't go into. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to run through that first.
Yeah, Radiohead is like the tip of a funnel that, so much great stuff has gone into. And I think it's definitely an entry point to all sorts of stuff, as I guess most good music is, right? None of this stuff is made in a vacuum.
Yes, but I think that Radiohead, though, I can only speak for myself, but I do think that what's cool when you talk to other Radiohead fans, and this might be where a little bit of the air of pretension surrounds, but I think that they're not like math rock or something where it's just made for music nerds. I think that is a misnomer that like, oh, Radiohead's for musicians or something. No, absolutely not. Like there's so many people that just love great music. I do think though that Radiohead's music tends to lend themselves to people that have an exploratory kind of taste. And I think that it would surprise me to meet somebody that was like a big Radiohead fan but was unfamiliar with any of their more underground influences, say. And I'm not saying that they've listened to them, but that is sort of a commonality amongst the seemingly somewhat like decently sized group of folks that I've engaged with, about the band. And I just, I'm not saying that if somebody isn't interested in those or doesn't care that they are musically dumb or something like that at all. It's just a kind of cool thing that I've noticed, and I've been educated by a lot of those folks as well. There's so much stuff I don't know about musically.
Totally. I mean, and yeah, it's definitely true that you don't have to engage with all the influences of an artist to like appreciate that artist. It just can be exciting. I mean, I know for me with movies, I consider myself a real movie lover, and I watch a lot of movies. I still know that the stuff that I take in represents a very narrow margin of what's out there. But some people, I'll get into their movies, get into their filmography, and it will inspire me to like check out their influences more. And some people, I love what they're doing and have a pretty good sense that what they're into is not my thing. I'm talking specifically of Quentin Tarantino.
Absolutely.
Like, even though I know he has a really, really, really huge and eclectic appreciation of all different sorts of movies, he's really into kind of this like grindhouse and B movie stuff that I don't think that I'm going to enjoy Pulp Fiction more if I watch the 1972 movie made for $500 that looks like shit that inspired a certain scene from it or whatever, So
absolutely. I struggle with this, what you're talking about in music and film, and I would say a bit more in film. But, sometimes like with guests that we had on Casey, like I really, I don't want to be that into movies. I don't, but I really admire when you talk to somebody and it's like they could talk about great American filmmakers like Scorsese or Kubrick or Spielberg or whomever, but also could talk about like some of the great French cinema that like really crafted America's kind of idea of what it could be. But at the same time, and this isn't like an actual conversation I've had with myself, but at the same time, I'm like, I am into what I'm into. And maybe people think about, when I talk to Zach, it's crazy his depth of knowledge about music. Maybe not. But you can't live your life, for me, I can't live my life being like, I wish that I had more of a knowledge about a thing that I'm passionate about than I did. You just have to admit that like I am the beneficiary of Quentin Tarantino's films or Martin Scorsese's films. I actually like Scorsese's taste palette a lot, but like, or Kubrick. And that's okay. I'm not ever going to be able to see and dig into like all the 1920s French cinema that inspired it or whatever. And if I do, great. But like, you don't have to know everything about a thing to love it.
Right. And if you haven't, it doesn't mean that you won't.
Totally. Yeah.
That's the other thing about enjoying this stuff and always being able to go back is it's not going anywhere. So there's now, Zach, I loved that shout out, and I want to say to our listeners, if you're hearing this and you're going, well, gosh, I'm a big fan of Video Talk and I'm engaging with the boys. Like, when is 15 minutes of a podcast episode going to be devoted to me? Well, I would say go make a great album and then we'll talk.
Yes.
You got to step it up.
Yeah, you got a 15 step it up. And you were talking about stuff that'll always be there forever. What will also always be there forever is the past. And in the past, the members of Radiohead have gone through several different stylistic choices, have they not?
Oh, yeah. Wow. What a seamless transition.
I know.
Before we get into that, let me just say, I just want to close a couple threads or cut loose a couple threads. First of all, the anniversary material of the 30th anniversary is Pearl. And when we saw the Smile live was Johnny Greenwood not wearing a pearl necklace.
He sure was. I love how confident he is in that thing.
Yeah, very cool. Another thing that our partners were, oh my God, did you see his necklace? Yeah. It was like really cool. This is not how
just
they
so
talk,
confident.
But hurt people hurt like people. They don't, but I'm upset. And that's why I'm acting out. Now, do you think that he was wearing that pearl necklace because he was like, well, 2023's 30th anniversary of Pablo Honey, isn't it?
I don't think he thinks about Pablo Honey ever.
He like doesn't even know that he made it.
I think Thom consciously thinks of how to subvert its existence. I think Johnny Greenwood is like, what?
Yeah, that's true, huh? Thom, I wonder if Johnny Green, because Thom definitely has that quality of there being a certain level of
Not
embarrassment. Yeah, well, I think that Greenwood has that vibe that you're saying of just kind of like, it's all ephemeral, and he maybe doesn't look back positively or negatively that much.
That's
but
my
I think
idea,
yeah, Thom is like, and this isn't a knock, but is maybe as the front man of the band is a little more image conscious and is like bothered by Radiohead's, in my mind, very rare and very forgivable missteps into things that have not held up super well. Anyway, now before we move on to the style choices of Radiohead, like I said, that was a seamless transition, and I'm sorry that I am throwing a wedge in it and we're not seamlessly transitioning. But would you ask me how I am celebrating the 30th anniversary of Pablo Honey?
Yeah, Walker, I'm curious, how are you celebrating the 30th anniversary of Pablo Honey?
Well, I listened to it in its entirety today, but that's no different than every other day. I wake up, I got to start the day. I got to start the day with Radiohead. So I go, all right, what's the earliest Radiohead available for me to listen to? I throw on Pablo Honey, listen to it start to finish, think about how I want to be Jim Morrison. And, and I just continue my day in that vein. At the end of the day, I'm falling asleep to those final notes of True Love Waits at the end of a moon-shaped pool. And then, hey, we got to do it again tomorrow. And, so it's kind of like how, do you only love your wife on your anniversary, Zach?
Right. No, I love her every day.
I hope not.
Yeah,
because the way she was looking at Johnny Greenwood at that Smile concert.
Yeah. Well, we have an interesting setup going up. I'm not going to say any more than that.
is Johnny Greenwood both of your hall pass?
No, but I'll just say I was cheering her on to admire someone else.
That's you're a proud cock when it comes to Johnny Greenwood.
Thank you. Yeah. Just kidding, listeners.
Now, Zach, you were saying that, we've all gone through a lot of styles, and what does that make you think of? Oh, man, this is so much worse than the transition you did. I've tried.
No, I loved all of that up until there. Let's try it again.
Well, is there a way I can set you up for the seamless transition again?
Oh, well, I don't want to cut your insert from the. Oh,
no, I know, but I just it was so good that I want to give you another. We'll leave all that in, but I just want you to,
totally.
be able to show off those skills again.
Okay.
I mean, hey, being a cuck is okay if that's your style.
Absolutely. And talking about styles, there's a style icon in the band Radiohead. No, we're not talking about Phil Selway. No, we're not talking about Colin Greenwood. We're talking about a man of smaller stature, I would say.
Yeah.
But, huge
Tim
ambition. Yes, exactly. Tim York. No, Thom York.
Is his name Tim?
No, it's Thom.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I haven't listened to the podcast in a while.
So, Tomothy York. I mean, he's, as the leader of the band, the front man, you kind of can't help but just, be front and center in some way or the other. And Walker, I did email you the sort of Thom through the years images that I have picked out. I don't know. I mean, I'll kind of throw it over to you from there as far as like just kind of working through the chronology and what our various thoughts are.
Well, yeah. So, okay, I see that you've got a grid.
Yeah, a grid.
This is awesome. So Zach did you make this?
No, I just took it from online. Yeah.
Okay, so Zach has sent me and we will put this on our Instagram, listeners, also. So make sure, if you're not already, that you're following us at idiotalk.podcast on Instagram, where we post visuals for a lot of the things that we're talking about. But what we have here is a 8 square grid of different Thom Yorks through the years. Now, I'm guessing there's a look accompanying each album. And I'm guessing that this was made before a moon-shaped pool came out because it names each album until a moon-shaped pool where it simply says LP9.
Right, but I think what's cool is that I did look for this for a long time, something similar to this, and I do think that the look in LP9 Square is representative of his look during that album. And I also like too that because Radiohead did work in 2 to 3 year chunks per album before the 4-year break between Hail to the Thief and In Rainbows. I would my only kind of knock on this one is I would say that the picture they have for In Rainbows is actually further after that in like 2009 when he was playing with Atoms for Peace. That's actually where that photo was taken from, is him at a festival with Atoms for Peace. So we could kind of maybe pull up In Rainbows otherwise and whatnot, but I really felt like this was a very accurate representation of various hair colors, lengths, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, that's really what we're talking about, right? The look is part of it, but we're really ranking Thom Yorke's hair.
Mm-hmm.
Now, okay, well, so why don't we say that there's, that these represent the 8 hairstyles that Thom Yorke has had, each one, or I'm sorry, is it 8?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But
he's had more than 8, but
has 9 albums.
Well,
Kid A and Amnesia. Okay,
they have combined as one.
Okay, and that makes sense because that was one era. Mm-hmm. So why don't we do our best to rank Thom Yorke's 8 hairstyles through the years from worst to best?
Okay.
Or should we start with best, or should we start with worst?
Let's go worst to best.
Okay, and I think we should just do our best to achieve. Now, we might have disagreements here, but we'll do our best to achieve cohesion. I know what my worst is right off the bat, and not to be all clickbait here, but the answer may shock you.
Well, mine is just a slam dunk. Maybe not a slam dunk. It's actually pretty close, but I would just say the Pablo Honey listeners it's Pablo Honey, long, almost shoulder length hair, bleach peroxide blonde it's not the worst look I've ever seen, but it's not befitting of Thom Yorke.
Okay, so that's your worst look because it's so un-Thom to you?
Yeah, I would say.
That's interesting. That is not my worst because to me, that one is...
I know what your worst is going to be.
It's definitely not his best look, but it really, it's so of the time, like this is so in the grunge era that I think it's pretty forgivable. My worst look for Thom is In Rainbows.
Dude, oh my gosh. I was trying to send you a photo right now of it. It's a very famous photo. Yeah, it's like he's a couple years behind as far as the hairstyle he's rocking. It's that spiked up kind of back of the head look, but then like a long sad flap up front. We're way out of our depth here, or I am.
No, you're right. It is, but it is very much what people consider the sad flap, and I feel like this was already a little bit lame at this time.
It was.
And it looks kind of like how everyone came out of the pandemic looking, where it was like no one got a haircut for a year, and for most people it was like not that great.
Yeah. Well, quick interjection. My hairstyle that I was rocking due to the not being able to get my haircut with the same frequency, I leaned into it after a few months and said that I was growing out my Michael Landon hairdo. And
I liked it.
I liked it too. My wife did not love it, but Michael Landon plays Pa in Little House on the Prairie, and everyone's going, "Oh, of course I know him now." Yeah. But yes, 70s actor, very kind of fluffy David Hasselhoff type hair.
Yes, kind of a blowout. Yeah, and Zach has really nice thick hair. I'm sure I feel like I mentioned that like every other episode because I'm so cool with it and not bothered by it. You know how you can tell somebody's like not annoyed or jealous about something because they mention it all the time?
You sold it really well.
But yeah, no, I think the In Rainbows slash Hail to the Thief is a tough era. And you know what this really reminds me of? And I don't think that we need to name any names because I feel like you'll know who I'm talking about. Is this reminds me very specifically of a good friend of ours, like teenage girlfriend's hairstyle.
Okay.
Like this to me looks like this is like what sort of like punk and emo adjacent young women were getting in Grass Valley in like the earlier 2000s than this. So I'm not sure what was going on with Thom at this time, but I feel like he wasn't not trying to be cool, and that makes this one kind of bother me.
Do you know what's interesting though? Because I mean, we can definitely go in ascending order, but just to kind of dovetail off of that, I gestured at this at our Hail the Thief episode is 2.5 hours. So for those of you that made it through, I talked about that from a style perspective and the way they were dressing and all that, and that Radiohead seemed to maybe be sort of participating a little bit more in what was happening in music and fashion than I had seen in other eras. And I realized how naive that could sound, because you look at photos of him from the Bends and Pablo Honey, and for sure he is partaking in what was popular at the time, but not really after that. I think during the OK Computer and Kid A and Amnesiac albums, it's like he's doing his own thing. We'll get to that in a second. But Hail to the Thief, like he has sort of that long like rat's tail that was really popular, and then really long on top, but like very distinctly short on the sides. And I know that sounds like a haircut, but just look up some photos, and we'll obviously post this one. I feel like In Rainbows continued that for like photo shoots, and then he slipped back into his own seemingly original styles. But I just kind of wanted to point that out. There's one photo shoot of them from Spin magazine where I'm like, one member, I think it's Ed, has his hair dyed, and I actually really like the band My Chemical Romance, but it's interesting that I'm like, man, like Radiohead is not impenetrable.
No, and I think My Chemical Romance, it's like a band like that is doing something that lends itself better to kind of like giant swings fashion wise, right?
Yeah.
Because it's really leaning into a very theatrical overall presentation. Like Radiohead is kind of, for all intents and purposes, Radiohead is appearing as more like they're less try hard in their vibe. And so when I see Thom with this emo girl haircut,
there you go.
In 2008, it's a little bit like it's humanizing. I'll say that. Now, Zach, I'm realizing since we each had a different low one, I think that maybe we should just kind of move in tiers of like worst, middling, and then our top. So I think that the low end we can safely say is Pablo Honey and Hail to the Thief up through In Rainbows is kind of the low end. Yes,
we're in total agreement on that. Absolutely.
Okay, I dig that. So what are the looks that are kind of coming in the mid range for you of Thom Yorke's hair throughout the years?
The mid range would be, I feel inert about OK Computer. I really admire that he rocked essentially a buzz cut when he has such great hair for growing out long. Now, if that's your favorite, we could totally focus in on that. But I really like Kid A and Amnesiac period, because it is a little bit longer. He has really good like hair to like style and spike, even if it's not that long, but it just seemed like, as much as we were talking about that, like Radiohead, maybe not as theatrical as a band like My Chemical Romance or even Nirvana, who was before them, but like their whole focus was that they so reject fashion. The thing I like about Radiohead in this era in particular is like, cool, like jogger, like vest, or not vest, but like sweater or something like that when you see him on stage. But the focus is seemingly so much on the music and also so challenging. And it works in very nice contrast to how much the music grabs your attention. And Thom Yorke and Johnny Greenwood and really the whole band are unique looking people. But I like it because it's not a total buzz cut. And he just looks like more of a man, to be honest with you. Thom Yorke, as we talked about, is a shorter in stature guy, but he's growing like a really good 5 o'clock shadow. It's not a complete buzz cut. So I would say that is like high mid tier for me. What about
Kid A Amnesiac is the mid tier for you?
Yeah.
The high end of the mid tier?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good call. I want to just say so the middle for me is going to take up most of, because I only have one top.
Okay.
So the middle is going to take up kind of everything else that's on the table here for me. But I do want to give a special shout out to his look during the bends.
Yes.
Now, this is not what I would call a flattering look, but I do like, so he's got his hair dyed red, orange, and it's like gelled up kind of faux hawk spiky. I don't think that this is a great look for him. I think it's specific to this era for a reason, but I do like kind of where I don't really appreciate the swing that he's taking in Rainbows. I kind of with this one am like, yeah, go ahead, you little weirdo. Like,
yeah. Well, because in the Pablo Honey picture we referenced, it's like Kurt Cobain does that quite well, Tom. You don't need to do it, the long bleach blonde hair, even though I know Kurt Cobain was a natural blonde. In this one, it's like Billy Joe Armstrong's got that bass cover. Don't worry about it.
Right.
The red hair. Yeah.
Totally. So. It's interesting. And it does kind of play into something that we talked about a lot during this era of how Radiohead is kind of perceived too, is a lot of it is like, oh, they're stuck up or they're snotty or whatever. But I kind of have always vehemently defended them as just more punk in their ethic than anything else. And so I like seeing Thom reflect that in his look a little bit here. I mean, he really kind of, this is like actually a very like Johnny Rotten ass look.
Absolutely.
So that one is in the middle, but gets a special shout out. The other kind of middle looks for me are King of Limbs up through a moon-shaped pool. So kind of leading us up to like current day Thom Yorke, which is basically just that he's grown his beard out and, he's he's older. It's salt and pepper. That's a good look. His hair is shoulder length now. King of Limbs.
Kind of John Lennon-y a little bit.
Yeah, very much so. And it's just, it's like a cool look for an aging rocker.
Absolutely.
If I had his hair, I could see doing something like that with it. It's not styled in any particularly notable way. He just has long hair. King of Limbs gets a slight knock for this being Thom Yorke's hat era, which it's kind of like a bowler hat, and I'm glad that he's not doing that anymore.
I love everything besides the hat. I love the shirt choices. I love the hairstyle. I'm sorry.
Don't be sorry. This is
I want to know your favorite so bad. I'm apologizing to myself.
I do not want a monologue about Thom Yorke's hat. I'd much rather have a conversation about Thom Yorke's
I know.
hat. But I just think it's funny though that it's like that he tried to become a hat guy for a little bit.
I know. It's like leave that to Ed.
Exactly. Totally. It's just weird that like it's just, I'm gonna try a hat for a little while. And it did not stick because I see no evidence of Thom Yorke being a hat guy before or after the King of Limbs.
No, not at all.
Maybe he wanted the King of Limbs originally was like, let's call it the King of Hats and then King of Limbs.
That's the stupidest fucking album name I've ever heard. Okay, computer. Try that one again.
Not King of Crowns.
King of Hats. Pretty bad too. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, which my next middle leads us into our favorite. So I would say I would also put the OK Computer look in the middling era, but at the top of the middle because it leads me. So as you said, he basically has a crew cut during OK Computer, which again, I don't think is the most flattering look on Thom, but it is an early step in my favorite look, which is definitely the Kid A and Amnesia era.
Wow, we agree again.
Yeah, we really do. And this is my favorite look because this is, as we've talked about a lot, this is where Thom finally comes out of his shell as a front man. We begin to see Tommy Dancer likes to start dancing around. He's doing more songs where during the live performance, he's just singing and having to keep the energy up through his, movements and stage presence. But what I think is so cool about his Kid A look is it's probably the most like quote unquote normal kind of conservative look that he's ever had. And it's when they're making what is arguably the weirdest music they made during their whole career. Often he was just in like a plain black t-shirt during this time.
Or an
And
Atari t-shirt, which I love.
Oh, that's funny.
That's very
I didn't know
hipster.
that.
Yeah, and some very famous live performances. But Johnny Greenwood also very famous for wearing the same t-shirt during every tour. So hopefully, God willing, he has multiple of that t-shirt. But Johnny Greenwood also notable shout out during this period. I love his look. And the shirt he was wearing in particular. You know that picture I drew of Johnny where it's the yellow shirt?
Yes, I
That's
sure
from this
do.
era. That's from this era as well.
Oh, well, did I send you the meme that I saw on Twitter that I would not know how to find it now, but it was like Radiohead styles throughout the years, and it shows all these different haircuts of Thom, and then next to it, and every single one, it's the same picture of Johnny with his hair hanging over his eyes, where you can't see his face. Like Johnny, may or may not change his T-shirt once in a while, but the dude has been rocking the same hair the whole time. And hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I know our ladies were really appreciating it.
Right.
But yeah, no, I think that also this Kid A era look of Thom, where his hair is basically short and spiky, but not gelled, and he has a short beard. I think that, and he's, like I said, he's in jeans and a t-shirt, if not an Atari shirt, one with no logo at all. I think that this might be another kind of intentional mimicry of what we know is one of their favorite rock and roll influences, the Talking Heads, who really, really kind of led the way on this kind of normcore movement that we've had in the last decade, where, if you watch Stop Making Sense or whatever, they all wear like polo shirts. Like they all look like they're wearing like work uniforms. And I just think it's a really cool aesthetic for kind of like what I think are widely considered to be stranger bands appearing very, very conservative and normal. So that's definitely my favorite Thom Yorke look. And I can see why he's not doing it now. I think it would now he's like in his,
he looked too much like a dad,
I think so. Yeah. He's like,
gotta have some edge as he gets older.
Exactly. Yeah. Like it's like he'd have his shirt tucked in and it's like a belt very high up on his waist. But yeah, for this time, it really is really cool. And watching them do like an onstage freak out of Idiotech with this look just is a very nice aesthetic for me.
Yeah. And gosh, I hate to call attention to it again, but I might be wrong. Listeners, pop it into YouTube live of them playing it on Jules Holland, not in Paris. That's where Thom's wearing the Atari t-shirt. Johnny Greenwood is wearing the patented yellow t-shirt with a little character on it. And it really just speaks to what Walker and I think we're both just saying with like different wording is that like it works in such a wonderful contrast to the music. And I might be wrong, is maybe not as much of a unconventional song maybe as Idiotech, but it is them. It is a very incredible performance of an incredible song. And it's nice that those things kind of are working in inverse of one another. There's less fashion and style emphasis completely. And yet, like, because of that, it kind of makes the performance, which is already sensational, more incredible. That like these men, these young men at this point, late 20s, early 30s, are capable of creating such, wonder, it's incredible.
Yeah. And it's adding a nice layer of irony to like their performances around this time, which I really enjoy. It's nice. Yeah. It's always fun when somebody subverts your expectations of what kind of art or performance they're going to give based on how you've judged them on their looks. And I feel like if you saw Thom Yorke around this time and looked at him, you would not expect what he was about to do.
Yeah, no, very well said. Couldn't.
Whereas in Rainbow's era, I feel like you would expect like, oh, I'm about to hear some sad songs on the guitar.
Yes, but what's so interesting is like in all the press material and stuff around that era, he looks like he's 2 years too late. But then in like Scotch Mist, though, he's rocking the Kid A and Amnesiac era look again. He's got a stubble, short hair, looks great. So I don't really know what was going on there, Maybe
this is just like I feel like
he has extensions of like 2 inches.
I feel like trends or maybe fashion trends are on a little bit of a delay over to England. So maybe this is
That's how it's worked historically.
Now, Zach, I think that was great. That was the definitive ranking of Thom Yorke's hair throughout the years.
Yes, but can I just give a notable shout out though?
No, I'm sorry.
My second favorite era.
Yes.
I'm
sorry. Did we not do all yours? I apologize.
Yeah, I did upper mid tier, but I would say my favorite era.
You didn't get your number one.
I would just say Moonshaped Pool. It doesn't have like the hat vibe. I think during our episode on the King of Limbs when we were talking about the Lotus Flower video, I was like, I really like it. And I thought maybe there's a sense of irony with the hat. I would walk those comments back and say that it's meant to be taken seriously. But I think everything else he's got going on, dress wise, fashion wise, is really cool, and I like his hairstyle. But yeah, I just feel like, and this is right in line with conversations we've had with guests, and I won't get into a Moonshaped Pool, but I really like it because he is, in an older era, but I really like the shoulder length hair. And I think it is sort of back to a little bit of more stripped down, back to basics. I love his current look with all the beaded bracelets and like all the clothes I wish I could afford and pull off. But I really do like the basic. He could have bought those clothes at Urban Outfitters or JCPenney,
Yeah, no, I like that as a number one. I do think like present day Thom is
well, that's honorable mention. I would say actually Kid A and Amnesiac is probably my top.
Oh, okay, fair enough. So I like that. But yeah, a Moonshaped Pool definitely up there. Just had to put the hat aside. You just reminded me of an anecdote from our childhood that I don't know if I have ever shared with you. No. But do you remember in 1990? Well, I know you remember this. In 1997, we all being a big extended family trip. Our grandmother took the family to Disneyland and Universal Studios. And so at Universal Studios, I was like determined to be bought something, basically. And I see Ollie do this all the time, my 9-year-old son, where it's just like you're having some experience as a kid and you like want to get something, but you like don't have the foresight to admit that like this token is going to be completely meaningless to you in like a matter of moments. Which is a reason that I give my son an allowance, not a huge amount of money each week or whatever, but if he and I still buy him stuff, but I kind of have to be able to make a judgment call that the thing I'm spending money on for you is going to have some inherent use or value beyond the high of you receiving this piece of crap,
Yeah.
And so
definitely.
If he's just like, I want a thing, then I'm like, okay, well, you can spend your money on that. And I'll say, I would not advise spending your money on that, but you are free to spend your money on it, So a very common, I think, human impulse that is especially heightened at childhood, where it's just like, oh, I just, buy me some crap, right?
Well, dude, and in those environments, I mean, it's like sell the shiniest, nicest looking crap too.
Right. But like I'm like a young, well, let's see, in 1997, I'm 11. So, right. So I'm like I'm not really like looking for a toy or something like that. So the thing that I landed on that I convinced mom and dad to buy me was, do you remember around this time when people would sometimes wear like Cat in the Hat hats?
Yes, absolutely.
Like a long floppy top hat. And I feel like it was kind of I think it was something that kind of came from like rave culture and like kind of techno culture, like type of a thing.
Yes, definitely.
But so
or like
they were
like Slash or something too, but like a really dumb version of it.
Right, but these were like super cheap. Like
I do remember this. Yes.
Yeah, and do you remember the thing that I got?
Was it like a birthday cake hat or something like that?
No, it was one of these giant hats with like a like a barbershop quartet bill that goes around the whole head and a giant top, and it had pictures of like an alien on it.
Oh, yes.
And I like bugged mom and dad. First of all, I don't know how I know that I didn't have money to buy this thing, and I know that I got it. So I must have somehow talked mom and dad into this being like my souvenir from the trip. And I remember, and I'm going to name her name because I think this story shines more flatteringly on her than me. Our Aunt Michelle, I had bought this thing and was like already in the process of like convincing myself that this was a good decision. You know, where it's like, I think I got it and was like immediately like losing confidence in the purchase. And I put it on, and our aunt goes, I guarantee you will never wear that once after today. and I was like, yes, I'm told. I think it's cool.
You're not right.
And like yeah, exactly. And guess what? She was. That thing moved around our bedroom to various locations in the closet for, you know, the rest of the time that I lived at home. I don't think that there was ever an occasion where I had the audacity to try to pull that hat off.
No.
And I literally only got it because it was like, I have to buy something.
Well, that is an amazing story, and I completely forgot about it, but I loved it. Yeah, there's a lot of lessons in there and a funny story. I just would like to quickly tell you and the listeners, and this is topical both to Walker's story and also to our podcast, because it involves Batman. So on that trip, Walker is 3 years older than me, so I was 7 or 8 years old. I don't know at what point in the year we went, but I got this small book that I still have to this day, of every issue of the comic Batman that had been released up through that point. And it was just, and it wasn't the entire issue. It'd be the cover of every issue that had ever been released.
Oh yeah.
And
I remember that book.
Yeah. So I still have that. It's really, really cool. It's not collectible or anything like that, but it's just like something that's kind of gone with me everywhere. And I also got a mug, like a coffee mug that had a version of old style, 1930s, 40s Mickey. And it was really, really cool. And I wanted it so bad, and I'm a sucker for really like cozy, nice mugs with like artwork on them now. And it's just funny to think about that, like that appealed to me so viscerally and so much as a kid, but I don't have it any longer.
But the fact that you have the Batman book to me is like, I cannot think of a better distillation of the difference in our maturity levels that you like managed to purchase something as an 8-year-old that has resonated with you to this day. And I purchased a hat that I was embarrassed to be wearing out of the shop that I bought it at.
I'm just gonna.
It's just like you're.
So
you are so much better at taking a wide view of your life, and I am just all about like instant gratification, and I feel that tendency has followed us into adulthood. So well done, Zach.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that very much. So yeah, that thus concludes our hairstyle discussion of Thom Yorke. Right?
Yeah, I think we did it. Well, I have something to show you that,
okay.
Like I said, so Zach is not. Now I know Zach is more on social media now. I don't know if you're okay with the listeners knowing that you are sometimes the man behind our Instagram account.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, no, I identify myself so anyone who's reaching out knows who they're talking to. So yeah,
fair enough. Okay, so Zach is, but Zach is much less online than I am.
Correct.
So I am kind of hoping that this has not crossed your desk, but even if it has, I think we'll get a kick out of listening to it. Zach, does the username, now this is, at the time we're recording this on February 22nd, this is already about a month old that this came out, but I do think that it is important enough that it demands some coverage on Idiotalk. Have you heard of the online composer On4Word? That's ON number 4 WORD.
No.
Do the words "in rainbow roads" mean anything to you?
No, I don't believe so.
Well, then you are in for a treat. So some hero out there behind the online username On Forward has recreated the Radiohead album In Rainbows in its entirety, the entire 43 minutes, using only sounds from Super Mario 64.
Oh, wow. Oh, my Lord.
So it's every file used to create the soundtrack on that.
How is that possible? Well, okay, I guess I'll find out.
That's a good question. I mean, I think that there are basically hacks of, the same way people create beats or whatever by isolating the soundboard sounds from different albums and stuff like that. I think people have synthesized the same like MIDI programs or synth sounds from, these video games.
Well, yeah, but the reason why I said how's that possible is the spectrum of sounds. I don't know. That's just my ignorance speaking. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, that's a good. In terms of like recreating it, I've been thinking about that too. I mean, he must have like written out all the musical annotation of In Rainbows, because you hear every melody, every sound, every ed texture, every vocal
riff
improvisation is accounted for. Now this got my Twitter algorithm basically knows to show me every single time somebody mentions either Radiohead or The Sopranos.
Right.
So that's like kind of all I see. But according to my feed, this I think did get a fair amount of attention online. He's done other individual Radiohead songs before. I had actually heard him before. My friend and I think sometimes listener of the show, Eric Krasner, sent me this guy's N64 cover of Paranoid Android a while ago.
That sounds cool.
Yeah, it sounds insane. But this version of In Rainbows is new, and it got enough attention online that Johnny Greenwood himself tweeted out a link to it.
Wow.
With the tweet, he said, "It's a me, arpeggio," and tweeted out a link to the Mario N64 cover.
Are you shitting me?
Rainbows.
Now I have to contend with a charismatic and funny Johnny Greenwood? His hair flips enough were enough to drive the ladies wild.
Yeah. I don't know if that's that funny.
Well, okay, it's funny for him, and it's also charismatic to be like, hey, I'm kind of good at stuff. Not in a way where he's self-adulating at all.
He has a sense of right. Imagine if this guy did this to a Pink Floyd album, and like Roger Waters would be coming out going like, "I'm going to sue you into oblivion."
Oh wait, it's me. I'll sue myself because I'm a fucking idiot.
Yeah. But I keyed up for us my two favorite of the covers on.
Oh, I'd love to hear it.
Now this is a song Zach has called his favorite Radiohead song, Jigsaw Falling Into Place. Let's see if he likes the N64 version of it even more than the Radiohead version.
Oh my gosh. I picture Mario in the bowels of the castle with like the lava.
This is why
oh my
this
God, I
my
love
favorite.
This
because
so
this
good.
one works. This one, to me, out of all of them, works the best as video game music.
I also picture him just like stopped and like me just wanting to listen to the song while he just sits there going like this.
Right, like while his like character bounces up and down. Zach's mouth is agape, listeners.
Oh my God!
Isn't this awesome?
So good! Oh my God! Oh,
I know you kind of just want to let it go, right?
This is so good! Oh my God!
Right. So obviously no vocals, but it gets the vocal melody.
Oh my God!
Isn't this
I
nuts?
love this. This is great. Yeah.
Now, I don't know how long we just want to let it play. The one thing is
I will tell you one thing. I will be listening to this afterwards, so it's okay.
Yeah, In Rainbow's Roads. Let's let it just kick into one more big part. We'll let it kick into that breakdown and then fade
Yeah,
it
the
out.
chorus, right? There's no chorus.
Famously, no chorus. Here we go, right here.
Oh, wow.
And then the backing vocals. Actually, yeah, no, I wanted to do the beat goes round and round. That's my favorite part.
Beat goes round.
Yeah, so so that's that. I mean, it's pretty amazing, right?
That was so good.
Yeah,
Can I hear the first 10 seconds of Body Snatchers, please? Do you have that or no?
I don't have that pulled up.
Okay. No worries. I'll listen to it on my own. I promise.
The whole thing is worth listening. I mean, I didn't listen. I'll be honest. I did not listen to it in its entirety, but I listened to a little bit of each song.
I'm gonna hop
just
around
to hear how it translates. And Jigsaw to me just stood out as the one where I'm like, this sounds the most like it was designed to be in a video game.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah.
Now the one
makes sense.
The other one that I pulled up does not at all sound like it would be in a video game, but it just is the one that I thought. Well, I'll just play it. This is the In Rainbow's Roads version of Videotape.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can't picture
No, this would not be in a video game, but what stood out to me about this is how beautiful I still find it.
It sounds like a soundtrack to a movie made in 1987, though. Now.
Yes, well, you know what it sounds like? It sounds like
Princess Bride.
This steel drum sound for the vocals is kind of a crack up. Everything, like, it's really funny how
God.
like everything is very like tropical.
Hilarious. Yes,
but I still think it's really beautiful and sad, and it reminds me of a couple different things. It reminds me of the soundtrack work of Angelo Badalamenti, who did he just passed away, but he did all of David Lynch's stuff. He did all of David Lynch's stuff, and
yes, he just passed away, huh?
Just passed away, and most notably did the Twin Peaks theme.
Mm-hmm.
But everything that he did is like these really beautiful melodies, but played on very like 80s sounding kind of instruments. And it also reminds me of a soundtrack to like an early Miyazaki film or something.
Oh, what very good call. Very much
This reminds me of like Totoro.
Yeah. Or any of them, honestly. I mean, maybe not like Spirited Away, but like some of the more kind of out there, like Howl's Moving Castle, I could see maybe.
Yes. And I also feel that what both of these prove, like, look, am I going to pretend that I like either of these, like, better than
this.
Yeah, okay. So I'm not going to, like, pretend I think these are as good or better than the Radiohead versions of the songs. But I do think they go a long way to kind of proving my off-bandied about theory that if you have a good enough song, you can put it through whatever kind of filter you want, and it's still going to translate as good. There's something about this videotape that still gets me a little bit misty, even though it's all N64 sounds. And there's something about the Jigsaw that still very pumps me up.
Absolutely.
Let's just hear it kick in here. Yeah. I like that snare sound, too.
Yeah, I think this one maybe, even though the tempo is the same, it would probably be really difficult to do that elongated snare hit that they do. So it seems like it has a little bit more of a driving bite to it, which I really like. Not
I
more
think
than
it
the
compensates
song,
by doing more snare hits.
Yeah, it's cool.
Like it's going...
Yeah. I don't know. I really like this.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so listeners, go check out the whole thing of In Rainbow's Roads if you haven't. But Zach's facial expressions during that were very worth showing it to him.
Well, yeah, and it's interesting too because it's like What that reminded me of is what you said, that a good song is a good song, and a clever melody and all that, like through different instrumentation, or in this case sounds or whatever. It also makes me think of, that made me laugh a lot, because I was thinking of the song as my reference point, and then I obviously am familiar with those sounds and just all the cultural information around it. It's just laughter is kind of a natural reaction. And then again, there are also bands. There's an instrumental 2-piece, Rat-a-tat, that I love, and they are an example of, when I listen to Rat-a-tat's music, it's great to run to, and I just love Rat-a-tat a lot. And they are a band too that are very hands-on in their approach, but also very loop-driven, but phenomenal musicians. And they straddle this really interesting line where they're incorporating a lot of like sounds that could be thought of as humorous, but for whatever reason, I really take their music, I think, as seriously as they want their fans to. Would you agree with that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't know, it's just an interesting thing. Like, I don't know where that line is, to achieve that. I'm sure some folks listen to Rat-a-tat and giggle and think it's stupid, but like it's all instrumental music. But anyways, that's kind of all I had on that. Just,
I get that. No, that totally. And Rat-a-tat also will kind of build a really driving beat around a very pretty melody like that too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially that last one.
Yes, absolutely. Well, that's that.
That was great.
Now, Zach, something that we have referenced a lot is talking about the solo projects of the Handsome Man and the Bald King.
Mm-hmm.
And by those people, I mean Ed O'Brien, the Handsome Man, and the Bald King, of course, is Phil Selway, the only openly bald member of Radiohead. And I say open.
No, yeah, because Nigel is not out of the closet.
No, he's not. No, you have to be looking at him from behind to know that this man is as bald as the Dickens.
Yes.
But if you're just looking at the front, you're like, oh, what a nice set of spikes you got going on there. But doesn't tell the whole story. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a real
tuck and tape.
Yeah, it's a real House of Cards situation. The whole thing could come tumbling down with a stiff breeze. But so, Zach, what I did here is I picked a song from both of the most recent solo albums from Phil and Ed. Now, Phil has 2 full-length solo LPs. Ed only has 1. Ed's first and heretofore only solo album came out in 2020.
Great year.
Yeah, great year. Yeah, I wonder how he found the time.
Ed just would have a solo album. It'd be like, I'm going to tour this thing. It's all going to go great.
Yeah, people want to racistly blame the coronavirus pandemic on China. What they don't know, it was actually Ed's solo album that caused the worldwide pandemic. Is people heard it, they got sick and didn't want to go outside anymore. I kid the Handsome Man because I love him. Because, Zach, what actually I'm about to tell you is I have not heard either of these songs that I'm about to play you. I uploaded them. I did hear opening notes just to make sure that they did upload. But what I did was I picked the most listened to song of Phil and Ed on Apple Music and uploaded each of those. So this is the top hit for both of them. So I feel like we're really giving them a chance to impress us by like, this is when people think of the solo music of Phil or Ed, this is what they go to.
Right.
And so I think we'll just listen to them and give our honest reactions.
Absolutely.
Would you like to hear Ed or Phil first?
I want to go Ed first.
Okay. So Ed's solo project is called Ed's solo project is called EOB.
I'm familiar with that much, at least. He should have called it Me.
Or just, what about just Ed?
I think that would also be great.
Or what about Mr. Ed?
Ooh.
Because did you know that that's actually how a lot of people know that, animals in Hollywood productions, I think there's an argument, still maybe like not as much oversight in that part of the industry as there could be, but definitely in the past, not treated well. And Mr. Ed, the horse, they made it look like he was talking by constantly having peanut butter in his mouth. Right? So the
I don't like
horse
that.
would... Right. Yeah. Even if peanut butter is a treat,
horses
it just seems...
love peanut butter, but
I bet they like it, but it just seems like kind of like psychological torture to me to have an animal for, a 12-hour shoot having something stuck in its teeth.
Yeah, totally.
And that's how they made it look like the horse was talking. Now, people don't know the way Radiohead makes it look like Ed is playing is they put peanut butter all over the strings of his guitar, and he's just trying to wipe off the peanut butter. And so it looks like he's strumming or doing a dry strum. That's just him being driven mad by the thick, gelatinous, sticky peanut butter that's all over his guitars that are not even actually plugged in. So even if he was making noise on it, it wouldn't come through.
And Ed does have a lot of guitars too. One might even say more guitars and more guitar techs than Johnny Greenwood. And I've always been a little confused by that. It's because, the guitar tech is coming out, giving him a new guitar it's usually like, very like it's like kind of food that you can like put like food safe spray paint over, so that's why it blends into his guitar. Always Ed's a creamy guy, he's not a chunky guy, so that's kind of why listeners have never noticed that, is that it's camouflaged peanut butter. And also the way he's like will occasionally strum or like look excited, kind of like when you have a laser for a cat and it'll get really excited and get it, and then it'll be like kind of forget about it. That's sort of like Ed's posture with the peanut butter a little bit, I feel like.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Oh, that was right.
No, it's all correct. It's a dog chasing its own tail. It's never going to catch it, and it wouldn't know what to do if it did.
No.
Or maybe to change the metaphor slightly, it's like if Ed ever had a guitar that turned on, it would be the dog that caught the car. It would just be like, well, now what? So with that very flattering intro, let's play a little bit of the solo music of Ed O'Brien under his artist moniker of EOB, which I got to say, I actually think is kind of cool.
I like that too.
And this is the number one played Ed O'Brien song on Apple Music. This is Shangri-La. Oh, there's that shaker.
Take it.
He loves it.
I wasn't being competitive. I was just excited.
He hasn't gotten to dust this thing off since Paranoid Android.
This is my Ed move.
Oh, okay. This is already very different than I expected.
It seems. Wow, he's really. I like his singing a lot.
Well, we know he's a really good singer.
Yeah, but this. Yeah, I like this. This is cool. This is dope.
Several part harmony going on.
Wow, I hear.
Ooh.
This is fucking cool.
I like this.
Yeah, this is rad.
Yeah, we've stopped making fun of Ed to just appreciate his music.
I'm hearing an amalgamation of obviously a lot of Radiohead noises and melody, but I'm not saying it's derivative, but a lot of other stuff too.
I'm hearing very Talking Heads in its loop and groove. But I like that it came in doing something very like major key and bright, but the vocals he's doing over it is like, I feel like he's singing in more of like a minor key, or like kind of like picking darker harmonies to go with. Right?
Yeah, I'm really.
Or he's kind of like doing like a blues scale on top of this very. Whoa.
Okay, I don't like this at all. Well, not at all. I'm not as into this.
This is not maybe the direction I wanted this to go.
No, I wanted it to kind of stay.
Now it's a little more in like, this is like a little more of like a Damon Albarn, like kind of like Blur, Gorillaz type of vibe.
Yeah.
But listen, hey, I like his voice. It's interesting to hear his voice decoupled from singing with Thom.
Yeah.
His high register.
I like this. It could have, because now there's another guitar track. It would have been fine to add that. I didn't need the ja-na-na-na-na. But I think
if you're gonna kick in with the heavy distorted guitar and bass like that, you need to kick in with some real drums.
Yeah.
Or just something heavier percussion wise. But already, I think we joked that it's like an Ed solo album is just all tree fingers. I actually did think that this would be less pop vocal music and more just like Brian Eno style ambient noise.
Ed.
I mean, I would say that this doesn't bother me, but this just sounds kind of generic, whereas the rest of the song
It sounds very
is
Blur.
actually...
Damon Albarn was in Blur, right?
Yeah.
Or
that's
no.
the Blur guy.
It sounds so... Which I don't, Let's go crazy because it's 1995. Sorry.
Yeah. No, that's okay.
Can I tell you what?
Okay, but I like this bass line mixing in.
I love this. I
with
love
what's going on now, though.
I just don't like the chorus.
What were you going to say, though?
Well, I want to hear where it finishes. I'll save that. I'm cool with this. This is fine. Oh, very Radiohead to creep back with those white vocals. This is great.
Now, how do you think he tricked Thom and Johnny and Colin and Phil into playing all the instruments on
God
this?
damn it, you stole my joke.
Is that what you were going to say?
Yes.
And he's like, now, Thom, I need you to disguise your voice slightly when you do these lead vocals.
Oh, see, I was going to say he does the lead vocals, but all the other cool atmospheric shit was Nigel.
No, he's not doing anything. He's not singing. He's not playing.
Well, no, we talked about the shaker.
He's doing the shaker. Yeah, but if he didn't recruit other musicians, the album would be all shaker.
Him. Yeah. Okay, I think I get the idea.
Yeah, okay. Don't know if it needs to be this long. That's Shangri-La. That's Shangri-La by EOB. Do we need to eat our words about the handsome man here?
We need to eat our butts. EOBs. I thought that it was going to be atmospheric Tree Fingers type stuff. Not that exactly. I did not know it was going to have that level of musicality, and I really liked the layering. But yes, I mean, like I said, you brilliantly said what I was going to jokingly say before. It's Ed O'Brien featuring Radiohead on this song.
That would be amazing if he actually put that on the liner, like featuring Radiohead. Yeah, or no, if he didn't feature Radiohead, but featuring Thom Yorke, Johnny Greenwood, Colin Greenwood, Phil Selway, and Clive Dreamer, and Nigel Godrich.
Oh my gosh, that would be so funny.
I mean, I gotta say, I think that it's not surprising that like an Ed O'Brien kind of bedroom project would sound that professional. And I'm not surprised that he has the ability to very tastefully and nicely layer a lot of vocals and, guitar and bass sounds. Like that all seems in line with his contributions to Radiohead. What I am surprised by, what I feel like we have never gotten a hint of, I guess we don't get a hint of this from anyone but Thom, is the sense for melody that is on display there. Like, yes, it's like, okay, Ed's got some tunes. I didn't know that.
I don't know what it's like to I mean, obviously, but I don't know. And this is a serious statement. I don't know what it's like to be contributing to and around. I mean, there's a reason that Thom and Johnny are the leaders of the band, and I get the sense that a lot of the very dissonant melody that Thom will pick his vocal spots on is a Thom Yorke thing. And there's got to be there's something that happens when listening to that kind of music, as I have for a decade and a half. And I'm not a songwriter, and I don't try to write Radiohead songs when I have, but there is something that happens to your desire to make melody interesting and your ear for melody. And that's just as a listener, as a consumer of music that's interesting. I gotta say, I think for Ed, like, you wouldn't want to write a boring pop song, which that song was not. It had parts I didn't like. But I can only imagine, since Ed is a great musician and a part of that band, and I'm not trying to say that like Thom is so superior. He's obviously the better musician and songwriter. But you know what I'm saying? Like, I do hear that, but it wasn't derivative. It was cool. And I just wonder where, if Ed O'Brien got a solo career not having been in Radiohead, how interesting it would have been, as opposed to the exposure he's gotten, both participating in and being, around somebody at the genius of a Thom Yorke. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So.
Well, I think that, I mean, I don't want to speak for you, but I think that put us both in the like pleasantly surprised category.
No, you're right. That's right on.
So fucking 25 episodes or whatever we are into our Radiohead podcast.
A lot more
we're
than
like,
that.
Ed O'Brien, you're all right. EOB is A-OK.
Yeah, let's see what's going on with old Philly.
Yeah, Phil, you've got handsome shoes to fill here.
What if he called his solo album Leotardo? Because his name's Phil from The Sopranos.
Now he goes by. No, we always call him Phil, which is how I think of him listed in the Radiohead liner notes. But he is going by Philip Selway for his.
I know,
solo.
a little late in the game to try and become a cool guy, Phil. Let's just stick with what we got.
Does he go by Phil more often than not in Radiohead?
In the liner notes and everything, it's Phil Selway.
Okay, so that's already.
He thinks that this is going to like distinguish him or something.
Yeah. Oh, Philip Selway, the solo artist. He wears a wig when he's doing his solo stuff and is like pretending people don't know he's bald.
Yes, exactly. Oh, I wish SNL was creative and good still. That would be a great bit. Like a skit.
Sure.
Like,
I can't think of any era where that would speak to anyone other than us.
No, but like a lesser known member of a prominent band, like trying to do a solo career, but like not disguising themselves at all. I don't know. There's a good bit in there. I just wanted to bash SNL too, because I don't know, why not?
Now, okay, so this is the title track from Phil's brand new, like 2023 album, Strange Dance. And I'm sorry, I just called him Phil again, but it's Philip now. So let's listen to.
Let's respect
already. Already, though, I gotta say, I am feeling a little bit apprehensive because Ed, I feel like, is showing us that he's doing something more light and minimal by going under the moniker EOB for his. And Phil is kind of being like, oh yeah, when I'm in Radiohead, that's a bit of a larf, I'm being Phil there. But when I do my real stuff, I'm Philip. So I'm feeling a little bit nervous about this, but let's check out Strange Dance.
Yeah, this sounds like a Philip Selway.
Now, this already sounds more like Brian Eno than the Ed
agree.
Project did. And Phil looks more like Brian Eno.
And I'm waiting out this night, wishing I was coming home. Highs and lows leave me numb.
Okay. I really wish another instrument would come in so I could kind of like get a better feel for this vocal melody. I don't want to kick another bald man like this, but I'm not appreciating what I'm hearing so far. Zach, what do you
I need
you're
another
making a lot of
instrument
faces.
to measure it. I don't hate his.
Yeah.
He has a delicate singing voice. I like it. I don't like what he's doing with it, and I don't like the song, but I don't hate his voice. I feel bad, but sometimes I
don't
hate
like the
somebody's singing voice.
execution of the vocals, though. He's like over enunciating everything.
Can I make an observation about both of them, Ed and Phil's? The lyric writing is dorky.
Yeah.
I'm not a songwriter. I'm not a poet. I'm not here to throw stones, except for at these two gentlemen. But both of them, it sounds like a teenager wrote these. And
this is really self-serious feeling.
Yeah, and what it also sounds like to me is like if when like people from like say like Sweden or Finland or something like don't speak English, but they learn how to sing like a famous song, and it's it's like perfectly like enunciated, but there's just something missing. That's what this sounds like. It's like somebody whose native tongue isn't English and they don't even know how to speak it, but they have memorized the inflections and sounds of a song not
this
their
is
native
very Norwegian sounding.
Yes. And now I'm not talking Norwegian blues. I'm talking
Norwegian wood.
fills.
Okay, let's see. I'm trying to see if I can pull up the lyrics here.
Oh, why?
Wow, it's like the lyrics are nowhere to be found online.
Yeah, this sounds like music somebody in Nevada City would make or something. Our hometown of Nevada City, California.
No, this does.
Oh, wait a second. Aaron Ross is from Nevada City. Aaron Ross is amazing.
No, but I know what you mean, though. Like, there's tons of amazing music. Nevada City, one of the coolest things about being in that town is it has an incredibly exciting and cool local music scene. But I know it, like, this is like some white dreadlocked ass music if I have ever heard it. I can't take any more of this.
No, I was ready a while ago.
Okay. That was bad.
No, thank you.
Wow. Okay, so Ed, did you expect Ed to outshine Phil to this degree?
I did, and I'm not being being dishonest at all. Because
I
didn't expect it to be that good, though. But I definitely did because, you know, you have your Dave Grohls, and I'm not the biggest Phil Collins fan in his solo career, but he undoubtedly has a great ear for melody. You know,
he's definitely a lot better than Philip Selway. I'll give him that.
Absolutely, and he has.
Phil to Phil, he's killing it.
I don't love his sing and a Baldy too. I don't love his singing voice, but I think I know. But between the two of them, I just didn't get good vibes on a Phil solo career, whereas from Ed, I really like the song Tree Fingers for what it is, but I did not expect it to be that melodic. I'm talking about the song we just listened to, and I did expect to like Ed's stuff more. I did not expect it to be that disparate, though. You know.
Well, I think that it's like, okay, so what we heard of Ed, you know, we've joked about how as Radiohead has moved in kind of these more in these less guitar-driven areas in their music, Ed persistently seems to be an Ed quote where he's like, I thought this would be the album where we'd play fun rock songs on my guitar again. And it's always like, Ed, shut the fuck up. Like, no one cares.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of the G chord. Ed O'Brien noted to Mojo in 2002.
The G chord. I thought I've learned how to add a D note on the B string with my ring finger. Gives it a nice kind of full sound. Oh man, our guitar chord heads out there are loving this.
Well, yeah, because that is literally step one to a 3-part chord, a triad. So you chose that was very well done. What if he goes, I found middle C on a piano.
Right. Yes. Yeah. And Thom, as soon as Thom saw him doing that, he's like, get your fucking hands off my piano. But also, don't you feel too like the D note, adding that D note, that high D in a G chord is like, it's only you're about to play a very lame song. Like, you know what I mean?
Yes. You know, Fred Armisen has an amazing.
Like, I don't hear the Beatles doing that, or Dylan doing that, or the Stones doing. Like, it's not. You're not about to do something that has any sort of like blues or rock edge to it. You're about
No.
to like play the Goo Goo Dolls.
Yes, I do agree there. I mean, David Gilmour would use that G a lot, though, and as previously discussed,
Okay,
he's
fair
one of
enough.
my favorites. But I totally know what you mean. That was totally true. Fred Armisen has a great bit that I think it was when he was on Fallon recently, and he goes through like he's just so musically gifted, and I mean, he's not the first comedian to ever incorporate his musical talents into an act, but he really, because he great SNL alumni, he just has this ability to like incorporate impressions into his musicality that I've never seen executed so well. And he basically goes through generations of previous generations, what they would do on the guitar, and also then like Australian rock bands or like northern English or whatever, like different regions of the United Kingdom and stuff. And it's so genius because I'm like, I don't know any Australian bands, and then you hear it and you're like, oh wait, I do know this song. And what he does when he talks about guys who have just learned how to play the guitar and are getting a little bit okay, he's like, when you do a D chord, don't do that thing where you just like, like, why does everyone do, can you help me?
Where you do like a hammer on with your pinky on the G note?
Yeah. And he does it somehow so well where it's like, he even like makes the face of like I don't know. I can't, listeners go on to watch it. I'm sure this isn't as funny me describing a bit, but like it is so true and so funny.
That's so funny, dude. When I was in a band, do you remember the band I was in when I was playing with Tommy Yellen?
At
the Fort Oregon house, the singer-songwriter Tommy that I was playing with a lot at that time. And we were like jamming on each other's songs all the time. I don't know what we were, but I think it was a little bit of like a, collective of musicians who were living in that house and stuff. But Tommy and I would play a lot of songs together. This dude, in my opinion, one of the most gifted songwriters you've never heard of, right?
Really? Okay.
Yeah. I'm an enormous fan of what Tommy did. All that to say, I remember showing him a new song of mine, and it was this little kind of like folky chord-driven riff in D that I could still play for you sometime, that I still like. But at one point in the iteration of it, I was doing that little pinky hammer on the D chord, and he was like, I don't like that. And I was like, you what? He was like, I don't like when people do that thing with the D chord. And I was like, oh, okay. And I think he was right. It was because it was totally like a thing of, I've written a little like melody on the guitar for the G and the E minor and the A. And when I get to the D, I'll just do that. And it was totally like, once it was pointed out to me that it sucked, it was like, now I got to come up with something more clever for that.
Right.
And
that's why you guys broke up.
That's why we broke up. And that's why we haven't spoken to this day. Just kidding. I actually reconnected with Tommy
great.
In the last 6 months, and it was great.
Super nice guy. That's awesome.
But yeah, anyway, so several people out there not a fan of doing that with the D chord, and I
wonder
think
if that was the seed of the seeds of one of my only Beatles songs that I prefer a cover to, Across the Universe, which is primarily a John Lennon song. I mean, all the songs are Lennon McCartney, but that is from the Let It Be sessions, I want to say. And it's just the version that made it on the album is really shoddily recorded. So I think that's part of the reason why. All that to say, it's a brilliant song, but I love the Rufus Wainwright cover like more than life itself. It's so incredible. But the guitar line of that is D, and then various just shapes and octaves of D all the way up the neck. And it's such a beautiful intro. I wonder if like though John was doing the D chord with a hammer on G initially, and Paul was like, "Yeah, what about this bit right here?" He wrote Across the Universe intro because
did something way better.
The way those guys would help each other write, and I was being cheeky, but like it is literally magic. That's not a trick in real life. Anyways, please, major rabbit trail there.
I grabbed my guitar while you were talking because I thought I could just show listeners the thing that we're talking about real quick. So I'm going to set my mic down. Which is just the D thing that we don't like. Just like.
There you go.
Is that what you were talking about?
Yes.
Yeah. And the thing that I did, it was originally like. right? And he was like, that's lame. And I ended up changing it to
even better.
way better, right?
Yes.
But yeah, so I would agree with Fred Armisen. Don't heed the warning of the G hammer on with the D.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, those were all the things that I brought for us to kind of go through. Was there anything that, anything else in the grab bag that you want to pull out and look at before we get out of here?
I think so. This is sort of more of a big picture thing. I know we strayed away from Radiohead a few times, but I wanted to bring up, in our earliest episode, one of the things Walker said that I really agree with was that Radiohead are relatively scandal free, which is something he really likes. We all have our moments, Thom, certainly we like his bite and his edge. None of it seemingly is our business, right? Which I think is important to remember. That said, and I wasn't digging for this at all, this came across my desk and it happened in 2022. So that shows you how in tune with the media I am. But I did see this thing. I'm also not on Twitter, but I saw this article talking about, it was speculating a lot of things about Johnny Greenwood's beliefs that I do not think are apparent or on display. But what it was essentially came from was Johnny Greenwood on April 27th, 2022, issued something in the way of an apology because somebody pointed out, a Twitter user pointed out, that he had liked a tweet from a user named Suzanne Moore.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. We'll back up. That Johnny Greenwood had liked a tweet from a Twitter user named Suzanne Moore, who is known for being transphobic and just not in tune with culture at all. I didn't do a lot of research on her. I'm not going to because those aren't my beliefs. But Johnny Greenwood liked a rather mild tweet that was, listeners can look it up. I'm not going to go into depth on it. But nonetheless, she's not known for good things. And he tweeted basically explaining this. He said, "Fat thumb. For what it's worth, I only use Twitter to share (parentheses) and steal other people's enthusiasms for music/comedy/art, etc. I also read a lot of writers I like, but avoid commenting on things about which I'm ignorant, like this." So maybe he is, and a lot of people in the comments were like, "This is so disappointing. You've been following this person for years, yet fat thumb." I do think there's merit to that. Obviously, I'm going easy on this person because I think they thing in a way of an apology is very vague, but also addresses, like, I like that he says I'm ignorant on things like this. He doesn't dig his heels in deeper. I don't really want to commentate on this anymore because on that specifically, but I kind of wanted to just funnel it into
a question.
Sure.
What it was the issue with the tweet itself, or that he is following and liked the tweet of somebody known for expressing bad
it's
views
the latter.
In general?
Okay. The latter.
Okay.
So, and if you want to nutshell that at all, like, I don't mind, editing if I was like stumbling all over my words there or anything like that.
Oh, the original. Oh, okay. What is this? The angry. Oh, well, the tweet is not great either that he liked.
No, that's the problem, is that a user pointed out that he liked a tweet that is not great. This person is known for doing, I would say, tweets that are much worse than that. I was saying on the spectrum of offensive stuff that person has posted, the one he liked is, I don't know what the context is. I don't know what they're talking about.
I don't either, but it's saying that, referring to lesbians as angry men. And there is clearly a specific context of something going on that she's talking about. But okay, fair enough.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm sure that like a lot of the folks that were offended by this or know more about this person that is known for expressing views that are, so I get it why they would be, offended or whatever. And it's not that I just want to see Johnny Greenwood only in this one light that I cast him. I think the way he addressed it was appropriate, and there's not a lot of evidence supporting that he supports like views that are so at odds
homophobic
with I think, what you're
bigoted.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I'm also not going to say too, well, you can't be in a rock band. Bullshit. There's plenty of homophobic, awful people in rock bands. I just don't see those views manifested in a lot of ways in other evidence. So that's why I wanted to kind of use this as a question for you, Walker, of what are your thoughts on kind of separating the art from the artist? And I guess I'll briefly, we were talking about John Lennon 2 seconds ago. I do want to hear you speak on this more, but like listeners, I will say my first idea with separating the art from the artist came in the form of John Lennon when I learned as a pretty young person that he had a history of, physical violence against really all of his wives. And also, I would say ranks up there with some of the all-time greats in terms of talking about peace and love. And kind of reconciling that with my young mind was a big challenge. And so, yeah, that was kind of my example. And I'm not saying, I separated it out and that's forgivable at all. It's just, that was my first experience with it. I'm not even going to give insight into how I've grappled with this. So I was curious kind of what your thoughts are on this matter, Walker, if you have anything to say, examples, whatever.
That's a really interesting question. I just want to, the way you got into it with Johnny Greenwood, I do just want to briefly comment and say this, you sharing this with me is the first I'm aware of it. And I think you've really nicely covered the bases there of that this doesn't strike you as Johnny Greenwood choosing this as the way to reveal to us that he's a homophobic bigot and more either a lapse in judgment or I would also be fine taking him at his word of just like he's got a big feed and he didn't read it correctly or read it
or
at
thought
all.
That was funny in context, but wasn't aware of the immense cloud of negativity that this person has overall on a lot of issues.
Yes. Yeah. Or I mean, I would say that if he saw that joke and thought that joke was funny and thought it was worth giving a like to, that I would say that was a lapse in judgment for what he represents and the kind of fan base that he's cultivated. So anyway, at the same time, I also think it's important to cover the base that us being a fan of this guy's work does not give him any sort of protection for being accountable for the things he says and supports. So not knowing anything else about the situation, I would say I'm certainly not going to assume that Johnny Greenwood is like regressive in his general views because of this. But I think that if this person that he was following and that he liked the tweet of is a hate monger and somebody pointed it out, I think it's good for him to apologize and think more in the future about how he represents himself on Twitter because it is a public forum. So I did just want to comment on the Johnny Greenwood situation. The art from the artist thing is, man, it's such a tricky topic because I really feel like I have my views and opinions about this, and I'm willing to share them. I think that it's one of those things where I feel pretty certain that by putting it out there, I'm going to be pissing off someone on kind of either side of the issue. Like, and by the issue, I mean, the people of like who are, I would put it, whining about, this thing that they call cancel culture and basically pining for a time. And my view on that is you're pining for a time where you could behave poorly with impunity. And now there's a different set of accountability for it.
I share your view on this matter.
But also, to the left of it, and which is much more on the spectrum of where I would align myself. I do sometimes think there is a denial of what can be a mob mentality and be very unforgiving, and also an occasional refusal to put things in their context. Which I guess is, I'm hemming and hawing as a way to say that I don't think that it is incumbent upon anybody to separate the art from the artist. When you hear that sentence, it's often said, you have to separate the art from the artist.
Yeah.
And it's like, fuck you. I don't have to do shit, right?
Yeah.
I don't have to and use John Lennon as an example. John Lennon's music is very, very important to me. It's very, very important to a lot of people. I don't think that importance trumps somebody else's right to go, I'm not interested in listening in engaging with the work of somebody who I find to be morally abhorrent because of the things we know that they said or did. I think that's like a perfectly legitimate stance to take. And I think it's perfectly legitimate to take that stance about things that I really happen to really enjoy. And I think it's also really important to acknowledge it gets harder and harder to take that stance the more you enjoy the work of the person, right? I don't think any of us are really that objective. I think that separating the art from the artist is a very, very personal choice. And the line is very different from person to person in terms of who they choose to separate it about and what and how they do that and what it takes for them to stop engaging with the work of somebody they like.
Yeah.
I know for me, I have examples of both. I have examples of artists who I have continued to engage with their work when I know that they have said and done, like it's a matter of public record that they have done things that I find to be objectionable or in some cases criminal. And then I have artists who I have been a massive fan of, who I no longer engage with their work, who have done things that are maybe not even at the level of other of criminality or unforgivable in the public eye. I'll just say what I'm talking about. Louis C.K. is somebody who's was a stand-up comedy hero of mine, and who I took his kind of, public disgrace very, very hard. And he's out there, he's touring, he's making music, he's
winning Grammys.
Making music. Yeah, winning Grammys. Like, I think he very nicely fits into a counter to the cancel culture narrative. It has affected, what he was exposed for doing has affected his career. He's not achieving the same level of across the board notoriety and embrace by intellectuals, and you know what I mean? Like it's like he's cultivated a different fan base, but he's also still, I would imagine, making millions of dollars a year doing stand-up comedy. I don't support his work anymore, and the reasons for that are largely personal. I can't really enjoy listening to this guy kind of tell it like it is when it was, in my mind, a smokescreen for much worse behavior. And the other personal note on it for me is, even though I am nobody in the world of stand-up comedy, and he is one of the most famous people in that world, I also feel weird supporting his work because I feel like I'm voting with my dollars, saying, I don't care if the environment that I work in is safe for my female colleagues. And I know people personally who have had an opportunity to work with Louis C.K. since all that stuff came out, who have turned it down privately and received no fanfare for choosing not to work with him just on moral grounds. I feel like I've been talking for a really long time. This is like a big topic, but I want to at least pause and give you a chance to kind of interject. This is more serious than we usually get on this podcast, but
I really wanted to get your perspective on it. And there was not a second that you were talking that I was bored or not engaged. So please don't worry about it. I guess the one thing that I would just tack on, I mean, I suppose anyone who immediately shut it off just because I was, I guess, doing a decent job kind of leading in, but I'll just admit it, a little stuttery, a little stumbling, because this is even just talking about the issue of like the thing that Johnny may have been liking that, doesn't reflect our views. It's just hard to do, even if you're trying to say everything right or reflecting your own views. I understand, though, listeners, that it's probably easy for me as like a cis white heterosexual male or whatever, to be like, oh, well, even if he liked that, it's a lapse in judgment. I could understand from a different perspective being like, yeah, it's easy for you, even if those aren't your views, Zach, to be like, kind of give him a pass or whatever, because it's so easy for me to exist in this world. I get all that. I think the way Walker nutshelled it, though, of like, could have been a lapse in judgment, this, that, and the other thing was really, really well said. And I don't think that he holds those views. However, when I read that, I was like, this is a really interesting conversation that I know I feel like at least I will be very interested in kind of what your perspective is on it. And I brought up John Lennon for a reason. And I, I guess I would just say the way you said that, like, how important it is to you shouldn't affect the way other people kind of draw those lines. Like that really, I really feel like I couldn't have said it any better, and the way this kind of correlates to me saying, like, I know it's easy for me to give some people a pass, even if they don't reflect my views, or not a pass, but, say, yeah, well, or darn it, but I could still enjoy it. I feel that way about John Lennon to a degree, because it's like, I have never been in an abusive relationship, like, I don't know what the terrors of that entail and the scars, but the thing that I do think is interesting is, I said one of the in my opinion greatest authors and poets about peace and love of our time. It's just my opinion. Yet he had this awful blind spot. I do appreciate that there was some reconciliation and acknowledgement of how wrong and abhorrent that behavior was by the man himself. And you know what I'm talking about, how John would he talked about it on record, and he did not talk about it like Sean Connery, who said sometimes women need a slap. He talked about it with a great deal of regret and shame and acknowledgement that it was something he was trying to do better from. Again, I don't know what it was like to have been terrorized by him, so I know it's easy for me to sit here and say this.
Right.
I do think, though, that people that vehemently continue to deny it, that there's something to preserve an image that has already been tarnished. There's something very different to me than that. Than, like, say, the way John Lennon addressed it. And I understand it was probably easy for him to do that in the 60s and 70s when half of American men beat their wives, but it was just different. I'm not saying it was a different time and it was okay. There's something different about the fact that he acknowledged how flawed and fucked up that was. And not everyone has to apply that level of perspective. I understand there's a great deal of bias on my part in saying that. So, and I'm not saying, like, and I've forgiven him. It's not for me to forgive. It's not for me to apply. Right. Then there's something awful like, Bill Cosby, who I think currently has been acquitted. I in no way can I put aside all the horribly awful things, even though I think his comedy was greatly influential and quite funny. And it's not to please anybody or to fit into some standard, so, and there's no universal lines is what I mean to say. It's different for every person. I really, really want to just echo your sentiments of what you said, that, like, it doesn't live in a box. So where I've, like, really thought about this, like, man, people are people, they're fallible, and it sucks. Sometimes they make great art. Sometimes I can't not think about that stuff. But no, I mean, I think it's important to do when you really do idolize something to a degree, to reflect upon yourself and the mistakes you've made. And remember that all people are fallible. And I'm not saying that so that you can forgive them if they do something abhorrent. I'm saying it to kind of keep your admiration and love in check a little bit, is more what I'm encouraging myself and I guess listeners if they want.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's all really well said. I think that you're keying in on something that I feel strongly about this conversation, which is I just don't think it's for one individual to dictate to another what their relationship to art made by, I mean, we're all flawed human beings, but made by somebody who has demonstrably engaged in harmful behavior or rhetoric. And I feel like I need to kind of be honest about, like, how contradictory my relationship to this is, because I've kind of said it's hard to talk about without pissing somebody off. So it's like, on the one hand, I've said this thing about Louis C.K. where that's somebody whose work I was obsessed with and now no longer engage with. I think it's important for me to clarify that maybe there's partially an unselfish motivation about, like, wanting the comedy space to be a safe environment for everybody to, people of all genders, backgrounds, etc., to be able to work hard and get funny without fear of harassment, right? But also there's a larger part of it that is just the selfish thing of I do not enjoy listening to his comedy anymore. I thought of him one way, stuff came out, I think of him in a different way. It changed my relationship to his work, and I don't engage with it anymore. There are people who, for me, the work they did has a bigger impact than whatever they did as individuals. John Lennon is one of those people, but
Yeah.
I'll take a more contemporary example and say J.K. Rowling is somebody who I don't go out of my way to put money in J.K. Rowling's pocket. In fact, I would probably go out of my way not to. I will try to vote with my dollars to the extent that I don't want to buy new Harry Potter properties and support somebody whose views I find bigoted and having immeasurably harmful impact on a vulnerable community, right?
Yeah.
Also, at the same time, I personally don't feel that I am doing anything to help the community that she is shitting on by throwing away my Harry Potter books and not enjoying this world that she built. And again, I mean, I'm just really, I might be being wrong and contradicting myself all over the place. I am just trying to honestly engage with this topic, you know?
Yeah, I think
and let the chips fall.
Job.
Well, thank you,
Walker. If I could just add on, and this is really the last thing I want to say on it. You know, not forever, but at least on this podcast, you know, I was thinking about when you were talking about J.K. Rowling and that there are some people that have had such an immeasurable effect that is largely positive, you know, through their work, let's say, that you know, it may surpass their own individual negative individualities or views or something like that. Now, to paraphrase. And I was thinking about the book Ender's Game that was written by Orson Scott Card, who is a known outspoken Latter-day Saint member, and has made some really harmful, awful comments about homosexuality. That is typically a group that is not known for being, you know, super open and respectful of those communities. But he in particular, and what struck me about that is the book Ender's Game, and I've read a couple of his other books, not in many years, but the book Ender's Game is such an amazing science fiction novel for adults or children. It's you know, it's not, a lot of people enjoy it. And I remember that was one of the first books I read that helped me think a lot about allegory and story. And I don't really know what like he could have been drawing upon, but I just remember, it's been a lot of years since I've read it, but I was thinking about this recently. Like, it's so interesting that a book that taught me how to kind of, you know, how sci-fi can be a great delivery system for like District 9, for instance, about talking about like disenfranchised people and how we treat people as humans, you know, in a different class. But they can use aliens as that vehicle or something like that. Ender's Game sort of made me think about a lot of those things, you know, in the context of like war and different classes and things like that. And those are really good things, I think, to think about, you know, and I don't know if it was his intent or not, but that was one of the examples where I'm like, man, it's such a bummer that this person is seemingly so narrow-minded, in my opinion, yet was one of the catalysts, not the catalyst, and I don't think about it all the time, but like to helping me really frame story in a context that's what I think movies and books can be so good at, is when they're not talking directly about the thing. I also love books like that, but they make you think, and it puts you outside of it enough to where you're able to put aside your biases a little bit, you know, whatever the topic is. And so I think I really liked your J.K. Rowling analogy, and I'm just using my own version of it. And there is, of course, a moment where you can't, I don't think anybody should call themselves a more unethical person. You should not read Mein Kampf and say that you're reading it to learn about how to treat other people nicely. You know, that's a line that I'm comfortable. That said, I do think though that it's different for every person, like you said, and I just wanted to kind of use my Ender's Game example.
That's a really good example. And no, that's a really good example, and you're helping me kind of clarify the point, because bringing J.K. Rowling into it is such a hot button thing, and it's also funny because it's like, I don't care that much about Harry Potter, and I certainly don't care that much about J.K. Rowling. So it might sound like this is like a hill that I'm willing to die on because I love Harry Potter so much, which is really not the point that I want to make. The point I'm trying to make is that sometimes really gross people do really great work. And I think that for me, there's a point where that work is in the public domain, and our attachment of the public domain of our minds and imaginations, and our attachment to it and what we got out of it lives outside of that individual. Because I started reading the Harry Potter books to my kid before I knew anything about J.K. Rowling's bigoted views about trans people.
Mhm.
And, the fact that she's so bigoted about trans people would lead me to believe she's probably bigoted about a lot of other things that I would find offensive and wrongheaded. And I don't think that I have a right to tell somebody more directly affected by that kind of rhetoric, hey, get over it, separate the art from the artist, Harry Potter's fun. And I also think that I can engage with the fun story about a wizard boy and engage with that on its own terms and engage with the things the person who wrote that book are saying on their own terms and meet those things each on kind of their own playing field. And, I can read those books to my kid, and if he encounters her ideas that I find to be harmful, I feel confident in my ability to express to him, yeah, I really like those Harry Potter books too, but I think that what this person is doing is really fucked up because of this, and this reason. And I think we should look at these things really critically. Unfortunately, we have way too much access to people.
Yeah.
And I made a joke a while ago, like, I wish we could have found out about J.K. Rowling's horrible views through her posthumously published letters like every other author. What you were saying about Orson Scott Card having all these regressive ideas, but expanding your mind into these more progressive ideas is really true. Flannery O'Connor wrote some of the best books, in my opinion, some of the best fiction of the 20th century. And then when that posthumous letters example is a real one, when her personal correspondence came out, she's like deeply racist. And her books are often satirizing and mocking these Christian Southern Jim Crow era like bigots. But it turns out her own personal views were extremely problematic. Bret Easton Ellis wrote American Psycho, and it's a total satire of misogyny and consumerism culture, and has gone on to publicly say a bunch of really gross misogynist things. But whether or not he is in line and Flannery O'Connor was in line with these ideas that were being expressed through their work, whether or not they are personally bigoted, it's still good work. And that is a really interesting thing about people, that they can be so deeply contradictory. Roman Polanski, fucking rapist.
That was the
monster.
other person I was thinking about. That I went with the Orson Scott Card, and I know I'm interrupting you, but I think Roman Polanski at the time provided some of the most thought-provoking work made by a man about how we treat women in society.
Yes.
And he was a fucking villain in that regard.
Exactly. Now, there's
I know
a
you knew
huge
that. But...
No, exactly. No, but I agree. And so I think the point is made, right? That people are not one thing, they're contradictory, and they can express deep and thoughtful ideas and views on things and small-minded, bigoted, or monstrous behavior. But there's a huge counterpoint to all of this, which is where I think like the whole cancel culture thing is less important than just elevating more voices, because it's completely reasonable for somebody to say, okay, fine, Rosemary's Baby is fucking great. Have fun. I'd rather watch something that is a meditation on how women are treated in society that isn't made by a rapist. And I think that is very valid. And
I agree.
That's only going to happen by kind of what we seem to be getting to more in our culture now, by elevating more voices than just one particular class, gender, and race, right? It's like the more you do that, the more you're going to have options in your art to go to that aren't made by transphobes, homophobes, racists, or sex criminals.
Yeah, no,
I think that all there's a much bigger thing that needs to happen for us to not maybe have to separate the art from the artist so much, which is just make art more widely accessible to more people, and like
you'll find out that people in all people groups are also monsters.
There's that too. I mean,
yes.
No, but it is that too, right? It's just we need a truly level playing field, and then that shit will really democratize itself, because I guarantee you there are people you have never heard of who are just as funny and insightful as Louis C.K., who never did sex crimes to people that they worked with.
Yeah, and this should go without saying.
I feel like I'm all over the place, but I think I kind of landed how I feel about it.
Absolutely not, and I really don't feel that way. I really would. We'll talk about it after the episode's over, what we want to keep or not. But I want to confidently tell you on Mike that I really I knew there would be interesting conversation. Now, I guess I would just kind of cap it all off by saying, of course, and it should go without saying, but I just want to emphasize it. Neither Walker nor I fancy ourselves to be beyond reproach in every regard. This is a big conversation in the culture, though, that I think there's enough interesting things to speculate, and it's topical because Radiohead are relatively scandal-free. Again, I do think the way that it was handled was vague, but also enough. And this is the point of the podcast where I'm going to admit, listeners, that I am a complete and total fraud and contradictory, because Walker and I hate Radiohead. And we have been lying all this time. We've done an immense amount of work.
All we love is that Johnny Greenwood liked this problematic tweet once.
There you go.
We're actually just like
solo work.
Yeah, we're just like right-wing culture warriors who are just like, we'll just embrace anybody who like pisses off the wokes.
Yeah, we're covert. We've been so deep in our covert op. This is like when somebody had the FBI or whatever becomes like addicted to cocaine, even though they had to do it for their job. Walker and I have gotten so deep in on this ruse that we, learned everything about the band that we could. And no, I'm just joking. But
it's like all these jerks who love Dave Chappelle now because he he makes fun of trans people, and it's like, oh, okay, great. Well, why don't you check out the rest of his career? Like, did you like all that stuff he was doing about how like racist America is and like anti-cop and like,
and your specific archetype he seems to like really despise,
Yeah, exactly. Like he literally like has, I mean, this has been pointed out by other people, but it's like he has now cultivated the audience that is why he quit Chappelle's show.
Yes,
it's really bizarre. Yes. That's a whole other ball of wax.
That was all I had on this topic, and I really trust you as the editor to scale down or whatever. But I think it was an interesting conversation. I hope the listeners felt the same.
I do too, and we can move past it and close out the episode. I do sometimes I ramble so much about, and I love talking about. This is a conversation that I engage in off mic too. My views about it are not clear cut, and I think that we're living through a very interesting time in terms of how we assess culture and what we feel good about consuming and don't. So if my views came across contradictory, it's because I'm sure they are. I rambled so much that I do want to try to distill my answer to your question in one sentence, if possible, of how do I separate the art from the artist, which is, there are artists I have put aside because I find their behavior or words immoral or reproachful or harmful. And at the same time, I doubt that over my life I will ever make a decision to only consume art made by what I consider to be morally unimpeachable or upstanding individuals. There is great stuff made by bad people, and I watch some of it, and nobody is all good, including me. That's the other thing is once I start making too many, I'm willing to draw lines morally. You have to. We all do it. But there's a point that I am not wanting to make proclamations about people that I don't know, that I don't want made about me, Yeah. Because I've said and done things that I'm not proud of too. Yes. And I want you to keep listening to this podcast, listeners. And I'm sorry if that shakes any of your image of me.
I mean, I love it, man. I'm really glad that you felt comfortable to elaborate on what you did. And that was all I had. I think we could land this sucker if you're ready.
Sure. Yeah. Listeners, this was a true grab bag. We went from silly to serious to silly to serious, and
not unsolicited grabs.
No. This was a grab bag. This was a consensual
grab bag.
Yeah.
There you go.
With no, hopefully no bigoted views expressed by either of your hosts.
No.
This
Absolutely
is not a. We hope. Let me say this. I hope you're not having to do a bunch of work, listeners, to separate the art of this podcast from the artists of Walker and Zach. You know, I know neither of us are perfect, but
no.
We're both trying to do our best to make this a welcoming podcast for everybody. And hey, thank you so much for tuning in, Zach. Thank you for taking this time to talk today. I really enjoyed this. I think we might have to do another episode like this sometime where we just, do a little assortment.
I loved it.
This was fun.
This was great.
And listeners, we'll see you next week. It's another big one. We won't spoil it for you, but very excited for next week's episode. So if you're not subscribed, make sure you hit that follow. Is it a follow button now on podcast? Yeah. Follow the podcast and meet us next week. We hope that you celebrated the 30th anniversary of Pablo Honey like we did And by that, I mean by having a lengthy and rambling discussion about cancel culture. Zach, really enjoyed this. Listeners, we'll see you next week. Bye. Idiotalk is a Glenn Brothers production. Get in touch with us at idiotalk.podcast@gmail.com or follow us on Instagram at idiotalk.podcast. And thanks for listening to